Hey everyone, welcome back to Tea with E. Today I will be sharing e-tail number 2, where I explain a time where having a crush kind of crushed me. Alright, let's get right into it. Okay, so this story goes all the way back to 2015. I had just finished my first degree, and honestly, I wasn't really in the best space. Life was kind of tough because I didn't really know what was next, but all I knew was I needed a job. And so thankfully, the company I had worked for the summer before, they had an opportunity that following summer, and they contacted me. And so I got in touch with them, and the opportunity was really, really cool. So I really wish I took more advantage of that job at the time that I had it. Didn't really cherish it the way I should have, but essentially what it entailed was, for those who went to Catholic schools and maybe some other schools where uniforms were required, we typically had gone to certain locations to get those school uniforms. And so the purpose of this summer job was to essentially make mini stores in school gyms where they didn't necessarily have a local store of their own to go to buy these school uniforms. So me and a gang of people, literally, who were like around the same ages, I would say on average everyone was kind of like, most people were like around 22, 23. I think the oldest person at the time was 30, and then the youngest maybe like 19, 20. But we were all in similar, points of life, and so it was a vibe, right? Like it was cool, and it was fun. And so because we had to go to all these, other cities, they would provide accommodation if we had to be there overnight or for an extensive period of time. And they had company vans that would, take us to said locations, and they would actually give us an allowance. Like each day you got, I think, anywhere from like $15 to like $25. I can't quite remember the amount for sure, but you got a decent amount of pay. And so some people were smart enough to pocket that money and not use it, and they would bring their own food. But not all of us did that, and that's fine. I was really using it for what they intended it to be used for, so that's that. But anyways, this job allowed for me to meet a number of people, and there was a guy on the team that I met who I will call Arthur. And Arthur was he was a nice fellow. He was chocolatey. He had height on him, and he was nice. He was nice to work with, nice to talk to, and we would have like a nice banter, and it was a vibe. And so something about me is I get very easily infatuated. By God's grace, that is not my portion anymore. Amen. Hallelujah. We've been delivered. But then it was a big deal. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I was really obsessed with like having such a cute story as to how you meet your person, all the things. So I was really feeling the kid. And basically, I would always just try to talk with him and just kind of chill with him at work and whatnot. And so there was another babe that I befriended. Her name was Madison. Now, Madison was a couple years younger than me. However, she was in nursing. And so we bonded over the fact that we had this interest for nursing. Even though I wasn't in nursing at the time, I did tell her about my desire to one day get into nursing school and be a nurse and all the things. So she really took, to that, and was like just super kind and supportive, and was like, oh, you'd be a great nurse, and like, don't worry, you can do it, and when you get in, we're gonna celebrate, and just telling me all these things that were sweet and made me feel like, her and I are friends. And so we continue on with our job, and now we got to a point where we were going to be working in Kingston, Ontario. So we get to Kingston. We stayed in hotels, by the way. So we're at a hotel, and it was a Wednesday night, and folks wanted to go out, right? So they wanted to go to a club in Kingston. And mind you, this is not Kingston, Jamaica. This is Kingston, Ontario. Okay, so it was not going to be a vibe, and I knew that. But I was told that he was going to be going, and I was also told that another colleague of mine who I really liked was going to be going as well. So I'm like, okay, you know what, if they'll be there, I'll be there. So decided to go. When I got downstairs, I realized that homeboy was not there. Neither was the other colleague of mine that I was hoping would be there. but my roommate was like, listen, we're already here, like let's all just go, it's gonna be a good time. And Madison was also there too, so I'm like, okay, fine. So we go, and of course it was whack. It was not it. Like, no one was there for one. Yeah. So anyways, we were seated and we were chatting. So now I'm cooped up with Madison, just talking or whatever. And she was asking me like, oh, like just for, just for conversation's sake, like, oh, if there was anyone here that like you could get with, or like that you could be in a relationship with, like who would it be? And obviously I didn't need to think much about that. So I told her, I was like, oh, definitely Arthur. Like Arthur is definitely it. And I was like, to be honest, I even have a crush on him. So that's that. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, wow. And she was like, yeah, okay, true. And I don't even remember if she answered the question or not, but I just remember knowing that I just disclosed that to her and that was it. But I told her to just, keep it to herself, and that was all, right? So now we get back to the hotel, and, the night was done. The next night or next day we go to work, and then that same night, folks wanted to go out again. And so I knew I was good. I was good off the outing because it was not a vibe. So I told them that they could go, and I told them that I'd pick them up, right? Because I knew a few of them wanted to drink. So I was like, yeah, I will pick you guys up and be your DD. And so just give me a call. So I get a call now from Madison's friend, who was also one of our colleagues. It was her roommate. She was like, oh, Madison is really drunk. She's not feeling well, like she's been like vomiting, can you come and pick us up? Like everybody else still wants to stay, but can you pick us up? And I was like, okay, sure. So I took the company van or whatever, and I went and picked them up. And guys, I'm here genuinely concerned. I'm worried about baby girl because, what's going on? And so pick her up with our other colleague, and I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to get back. And I'm like, okay. So anyways, we come back to the hotel. I take her up to her room, and I was just kicking it with them a little bit, just making sure she was generally all right. Like I wasn't sure she needed more water, she needed medication. Like I didn't really know. I hadn't really been in a situation like that before, so I was a little bit more on the worried and anxious side. So so she kept telling me, oh, Vanessa, don't worry, I'm fine, it's okay, go to bed. I believe we were leaving the next day or the day after. So I was like, hey, you know what, like I'll just go to bed, it's fine. So I was like, if anything changes, like let me know. And I told her roommate the same thing. So I left, I did my thing, and I went to bed. So now, some weeks after that, our teams split up into two. They sent half the team to Sudbury and another half to Ottawa. And then in the second week, we would all reunite in Ottawa. So, so this is where it gets interesting. So my team who's in Ottawa for that first week, we're chilling in me and my roommate's room, and we're all just talking. It was about 5 of us, 5 babes. And one of our colleagues, she shares that Madison and Arthur had sex. And And I said, I beg your pardon? Like, what do you mean? Like, how? Right? What do you mean? How? And so now I'm like, I think I repositioned myself in the bed, because I said, okay, let's listen to this. And she was like, yeah, they had sex. I was like, what are you talking about? How do you know this? Like, how? And she was like, yeah, so one of our other colleagues, Steven, okay, Arthur's roommate, Steven, who was also one of our colleagues, him and this colleague of mine who's telling us this tea, they're acquainted. And so she was like, yeah, that night when she came back drunk, She actually came to Stephen and Arthur's room and wanted to see Arthur. And so because this friend was already in the room chilling with them, Stephen told her that, oh, like, that they should leave and just, you know, go to her room because he thinks that Arthur and Madison want to have a conversation. I hope you guys are following. So they essentially gave them the space to do whatever they wanted to do. And long story short, Arthur had told Stephen that he smashed. And come to also find out that Madison had been plotting the whole time, trying to find a way to get up into this man's bed. And so her telling me to tell her roommate that she was drunk and not feeling well and vomiting and doing all the things was a plea for her to get picked up so that she can go and see this guy.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
So yeah, when I found all that out, I I was so taken aback, guys, because I just didn't understand like the why, and like why go through all those lengths, you know? Like I just found it so unnecessary, especially because my emotions were involved. Like I genuinely was concerned about this babe, thinking she was really unwell. And she clearly was unwell, but in a different type of way.
You're sick.
So essentially now I was just reacting in a way where everyone was just like, why are you so like shocked? Like, why are you like, you know, like kind of bothered? I was like, well, I told her that I had a crush on him. And then everyone was like, you had a crush on Arthur? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, he's not too bad to look at, you know, he's chocolatey and he's nice, like. And then my one friend there was like, ew. Like she just was not, she did not see it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But regardless, it was not a fun feeling. It was not a fun feeling to find this out the way that I did. And so now my heart was just beating because I'm like, we're literally reconnecting again in a few days for this final week of this whole job, and this is the way that it's ending, you know? And so I already knew for me, I was keeping a distance. Like I was not interested in doing nicey friendly type stuff with her no more. Like I was good. I even remember her messaging like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like meet up again in Ottawa. It's gonna be so fun. And I don't think I even replied, or if I did, it was very dry, like, yeah, you know, because I wasn't on that type of time at all. So that final week comes and it was so awkward, and you could cut the tension with with a knife, because the babes that were with me in Ottawa that first week, they were not feeling the whole situation given what I had told them about the fact that I told her how I felt, and yet she didn't use that as an opportunity to talk to me, but she just went and did some grimy-ish. So they were just kind of moving weird too. Mind you, guys, please, I didn't tell them to do any of this. I wasn't trying to rally up troops or anything to be on my side. It wasn't any of that. It's just that they felt like she was fake and phony. And
the man? Someone just broke something, and it wasn't me.
And she clocked that people were moving different. So she spoke to one of her other friends who was of the same background as her, and they spoke in their language. And I remember seeing her talk to that babe, and I saw her face go red. So I knew that the girl was telling her like they know. And she later told me that that's what they discussed, that she told them like, hey, everybody knows that like you and homeboy got down, and that's that. Madison comes to me and she's like, hey, can I please talk to you after? Can we please talk? And I said, okay, sure, like we can, right? So the end of the shift comes. we're back in our hotel rooms, and I get a message from her and her roommate saying, hey, like, they're downstairs, they'd really love to talk. So I come downstairs. She basically just says, you know, I'm so sorry. I feel bad. Like, this wasn't meant to like come out like this. I did want to tell you, but I didn't know how, because I knew that you liked him, yada yada. And I'm like, girl, relax, because this is not my man. You know, at the end of the day, he's actually not my man, and I guess he's not even really yours either. Because really and truly, like, they weren't official or anything. But I was just trying to let her know, like, all this extra stuff is just unnecessary. Like, we're making it seem like this is a case of infidelity or something like that. But regardless, the way you went about it was just super duper poor. Like, you could have really just, if you're saying I'm your friend, you definitely could have spoken to me about this in full confidence, and not have gone behind my back to do what you wanted to do, which is something that clearly was premeditated, because you'd been planning to get in bed with this guy. And so I felt more hurt and just embarrassed more than anything, because I overestimated our friendship, and that was my bad. And what was also unfortunate too was the way that Arthur started moving towards me. Like, he became super cold. He was no longer talking to me, no longer doing banters with me. And that part hurt for sure, because I'm like, why am I in it? Like, I didn't actually do anything. So we actually got him on the phone, because I wanted to clarify with him, like, hey, like, I'm not the one who's disseminating this information. Like, I'm not spreading it. I'm not doing any of that. And he was just like, okay. And I was like, why are you acting like this? Like, acting like what? And I was like, you're being very, like, you're being mean. You're being cold. And he was like, no, I don't care. Like, I'm not doing anything. So I'm done with this. And he cut the line. So it just put a bad taste in my mouth. Anywho, long story short, when I spoke with Madison, I ended it off on a note of, like, I'm good, you know, it is what it is, and there are no hard feelings. Like, I'm fine. And you know, again, she felt all the guilt, she felt all the shame, she felt super horrible about it, so she says. And she ended it off with saying, you know, please forgive me and please pray for me. And I was like, LOL. I was like, I mean, I definitely am, because because deliverance is needed here. My God. Now the end of the gig came, and we were all going into separate vans. And so they all got in their van, I got in mine. And Snapchat was big those days. So I remember going on Snapchat and realizing that he had deleted me off of Snapchat. I don't quite know how I knew that, but I knew that I didn't have him. And we were no longer friends on Snapchat. And there was no longer any conversations that were being had with him. And I personally deleted the other babe, being Madison.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
Because I had no interest in keeping up with her. I had no interest in being friends. So that was how having a crush crushed me. And so there were a number of things that I dissected from that situation that I hope you guys will hear and maybe consider yourselves. First things first, guys, don't fall for Ganyan men.
What the? Oh shit.
No, I'm totally teasing. I'm totally joking. Ganyan men are great, okay?
Look at me. I'm Black Superman.
Please, they are great. But no, all jokes aside, guys, don't be so quick to call someone your friend. Don't do it, please, okay? I bricked here. clearly. And I think just for the mere fact that obviously we connected off of nursing, and we just had a nice time together, I was just like, yeah, like, this is gonna be my homie. And she was definitely homied up with somebody else, and it wasn't me. And I found out the hard way, and it was not a good look. It was not a good look, and it should not have ever reached that point. And had I really categorized her in the right way, I think I would have absolved myself from some of these emotions. Because the reality is, like, some people are just meant to be your work friends. They're just meant to be your work buddies, your colleagues, simply. Doesn't mean that y'all are gonna be the best of friends outside of work. Doesn't even mean that you need to be. You get what I mean? So I think when it comes to work, sometimes you can have the same interests and the same motivations and focus in the workplace, but it doesn't mean that outside of that your values and your morals and all these things align, because clearly her and I were vastly different. We moved in different ways, and so that was just never going to work. And so Proverbs 12 verse 26, it reads, "The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray." Yeah. Take time to choose your friends carefully, because the reality is not everybody defines friendship the way that you do. And so you need time to see what that might look like for somebody. Because just because you vibe at work doesn't mean you're going to vibe outside of that. So that was my first sip from this situation. Sip number 2, okay, is to not expect yourself from other people. Okay, God bless my brother for sharing this nugget with me. You would have went about that situation in a completely different way, but that's because of who you are and your integrity and your morals and values. But she wasn't in that space, right? And so, of course, keeping that in mind, I would like to say I was pretty gracious with her. And it's very, very important for us to do that and be that way. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, we have to understand that not everyone's as mature as us. Not everybody is willing to do certain things. Not everybody thinks some things are as serious as they are. And so when you recognize what those differences look like, you have a choice to make, whether you're going to stick around or you're going to move forward, right? Am I going to move on and leave this person behind, or am I going to tolerate this and deal with it? And for me, I wasn't willing to tolerate that. I don't believe that that is God's design for a true and genuine friendship, to deal with someone who's lying, someone who is plotting and scheming behind your back despite the honesty and vulnerability you show them. So it was a no-no. And so yeah, don't expect you from other people, because not everybody is on the same page as you. And last but not least, this sip, okay, is try not to be petty. Okay, learn to let things go. This is so hard. How many of us have successfully done this? Right. I thought so. Okay. It's very hard to not be petty. It's very hard to not let your flesh win, but it is possible to not give in. And this is why I'll forever just say, guys, we need God. We need God, because so much of what we want to naturally do is not good and is not right. But if we can actually be guided by the Holy Spirit, if we can actually allow for God to lead us into all truth, if we can allow Him to encourage us, to empower us, to strengthen us, to give us the wisdom that we need, we are able to truly be the best versions of ourselves, which in turn help people to be better. So it's so imperative that we prioritize our relationship with God. If we don't have one, that we get one. Okay, the Lord is desiring to be close to you. He wants to draw near, but you have to draw near as well, and so, man, like, being petty is not the way. And it might feel good in the moment to an extent, but I think conviction does come in later, especially for the believer, and that guilt, right, where it's like, oh, probably should have went about this differently, And so the verse that I have for this is 1 Peter chapter 3 verses 8 to 9, and it reads, "Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, and be compassionate and humble." Okay, do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. So we have to always remember, guys, like the call and the standard for being a believer is so high. You can't do it alone. That's why you need God, because naturally you don't want to do this.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
You don't want to do this. And meanwhile, God is telling us in this. Peter is writing to the church, letting them know that, hey, it's gonna come with some suffering doing good. You know what I mean? Doing the right thing will come with a cost, and it might be painful, might be a hit to your ego, might be a hit to your to your feelings, right? It might be a hit to whatever it is that you would have rather done in that moment, but it's serving a good purpose in turn, right? You're actually being more like God when you exhibit yourself in such a way. And so
Let's do the right thing. You know I had to get that in there.
It's so important to make note of that, because there is a blessing that is attached to the goodness and the good works that you do. So yeah, man, like for me, I just was like, I'm not going to scoop to the same level as any of y'all. You know, I didn't blast anybody. I wasn't, even with Arthur, you know, like a part of me wanted to tell him about himself. Because I'm like, how are you allowing something you chose to do be a problem you're putting on my head?
Hey Sophie, weird flex but okay.
Who really sent me? That was what I kept saying to her. Who sent me? Who sent me one to say anything to this babe? She just asked me who I would go for. She didn't ask me about who your crush would be. She didn't ask me who my crush is. Okay? I didn't need to go there, but I went there. I went there. Okay? So, okay, you know what? On that note, a last tip is be careful with what you disclose. Do not say too much. It's okay. I'm not one to say, oh, be private and oh, move in silence. I think there is a wisdom that does come with that, absolutely. But not everything needs to be said, right? And I think I spoke about this on ETIL number 1. Like, you might think something doesn't mean you have to say it. You might feel something doesn't mean you have to say it, you know? And so sometimes it's okay to not say more than you need to. But again, you know, in the area of a friendship, you know, you should feel comfortable. You should feel like this is something I can disclose. But at the end of the day, if you are miscalculating your friendship, please do the math again.
Let's do it again, only better this time, Schnauzer.
If this is not someone that you've, you know, really done life with, if this is not someone who's really proven themselves and their character, then take time before calling them a friend. Just let's really see, let's really do life and see if you're really someone that's rocking with me, because you might not be, right? So that takes us to the end of this video. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching. I hope you received from it what I did, and I hope you'll apply this to your life in any which way possible, and help encourage somebody too, you know, to be mindful of these things. So yeah, anyways, I can't wait to see you guys on my next video. Thank you guys for the love and the support. It means a lot. And please continue to keep your girl in prayer. All right, I appreciate it. God bless you guys. See you soon. Bye.